Oh, that worked pretty good. A bit of breeze come through and off we went, so should be crackling away for a little bit here. Might readjust a bit of that in a second, but what the time is now, I know it's cranking on. This is, we had this once before, where you just get a fog and the fog's just here all day. There's nothing you can do about it. Reminds me like Scottish Highlands or something. What are we looking at? Yeah, basically 10 to 12, 10 minutes off lunchtime. I still haven't had a proper breakfast outside of a cup of soup and a cup of tea. Coffee, rather. This will be all red hot coals under here for quite a while, for many hours yet. So, I'll readjust all this. Kick a few of the outsides in. Yeah, anyway. Time to go have something to eat. Yep, 2:45. Oh gosh. I'll tell you what. Definitely pretty heavy. It's not going away today, as simple as that. These tiny little birds, they call them silver eyes. They're like a blooming bright greenish grey. They're going all over the Peruvian pepper tree here, like just all through it. And I don't know, but I think they might even be eating the peppercorns. I don't think there'd be any bugs. They're off down to the other one down there, but just strange. I've never seen so many of them work on one tree. We used to have very, very few of them around, but now we seem to have them everywhere. Black Kitty brought one into the house the other night, took it off her, and then went to live another day. Honestly, a couple of minutes ago, like 2 minutes ago, there was about 25 of them in this tree. Alrighty. I said to do something that wasn't necessarily the best thing in the world. These things happen. I wish I had a big collage of all the drugs we used to have at the piggery, plus about another half a dozen extra antibiotics, and big bags of feed with synthetic protein and all the fandangles. But on occasion, I don't know if it's the grass being so slow, but I know we also had one even when the grass was good. Walks around, all the other sheep are fat, and you just get this odd one that's just starved as hell. And no, it's not Owen-Johns disease, but Owen-Johns disease looks like that, but is in New South Wales, not Victoria. Yeah. I think some crows or some sort of a scavenger-related bird took advantage of particular sheep when it was down and basically ate out the muscle of the back leg, one of its back legs. So, and it's been there for a couple of days, hiding behind a bush that I can't see. And you just got to find the best knife you got and do what needs to be done. You would not survive. Unless I had all the fandangles like we had at the piggery, but I don't. Anyway, as you can see here, we have no shortage of rocks. This is actually just inside my parents' place. There's my boundary fence and all the wood right there. And in an effort to be able to get out here with these ATV, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a few star pickets there, white tops on them. And he's gone and cleared all this little patch here, and then left all that there, so I can ride the bike right out to here, no worries at all. In those, that big, we call it a dam, you probably call it a pond in the States, that I have, it overflows into his one. That was one my uncle built with that same loader you saw the other day, pulling the box thorn around the place. And talk about blatant, my father's dam had already been there for like more than 20 years. And then my uncle goes and builds this one right in front of it, on the other side of the boundary fence, right in front of it, and about 3 times the size. Talk about blatant smart-assism. Anyway, that one that I've got now overflows into his one, and his one has an overflow that actually goes right down into this little valley, miniature valley thing you can see here, and flows at the bottom of that. And basically the overflow out of his dam is where all these went, because it was washing away so much soil, and he chucked absolutely heaps of rocks in there. But I'm looking at all this and thinking, well, we've got no shortage for rock cages. Strangely enough, on my side of the fence, it is not like this. Nowhere near like this. And yeah, I do have a few rocks piled up here and there, but even when you go out, like these ones all, you know, there's enough stuck in the ground. I don't quite have enough, like as many as this, you know, partially submerged or almost fully submerged. And here it's like a shitstorm. You know, so maybe he done all this by hand, but if we can get the load of it, he's got to go over that same blasted gully thing. That it's not as deep, but if there's some way we can get the loader through into here, if we can get it across that gully, and I know there's a few flat spots in the gully, and get it up into here, and basically just sit the bucket down and then drag it backwards and just go in reverse. And you get most of these rocks into other heaps. And sure, it'll carry a bit of dirt with it, but with a bit of luck, we, you know, just go through and pluck all the rocks out of the piles, and there'll be a little bit of dirt, but you know, it'll be mainly rocks. And then we might be able to fill some of these rock cages here. It goes absolutely berserk. It may just be a case of picking them all up by hand, because he probably doesn't want to go slamming the bucket into these ones that are sort of, you know, 4/5 submerged and bloody hard. But there's enough of these that are just so loose, and they just go on and on and on. And they sort of try to make a bit of a stone wall just along the fence, just here. And then you hop over the fence, and they go a lot smaller, but there's still a shitload of them, even over the fence. Sort of strange, because this is just a little sectioned off paddock he's got, but you see the sheep just sitting there. That's the fence there. You see corner post there, my house there. And there's nothing, and then within the last 5 metres of hitting this fence, you get a whole bunch of rocks again. And you get out into here, and there's still shitloads. A lot smaller on this side, but there's heaps. You know, and this sectioned off area is actually 7 acres. And by the looks of it, 95% of it has rocks in this 7 acres. You know, and they're not necessarily too big. It might be a little bit small for rock cages, but you know, you get back to things that are sort of like this, and they are the right size. They're the size I saw them putting stuff in, especially ones like that, when I was working doing the plastering, and they were building the retaining wall, because it was sort of dug into the side of a hill, the 3 stories. One side had a retaining wall which is completely made out of rock cages, but I've texted my sister and I hope she can give me a price on all of those things. And I've seen them, they come flat, and it's a bit like cardboard boxes. You know, you buy them in bulk, they come flat, and then you sort of pop them in to shape, and they do the same thing. And I don't know if you've got tiny bits of wire to secure them or what, but I've seen them grab hold of these things and whack them open, you know, and within less than 5 minutes they're filling them up with rocks again, you know. And they just stand there with a loader bucket and just gently tip it in, and then they sort of organise and spread them all to the sides. But just a bit of food for thought, you know, to cut down the cost of putting a fence around the house. And there's some areas, like near where the water tank is there, the big green water tank, you're like, I wanted the fence to go a bit around the side, but then again, there's not that much of a need for it, so what if I just do that in rock cages? You can't see that from the road, you know, it's, I reckon 2 of those cages on top of each other, might even need to be 3, would be pretty good. But, you know, like I was saying, you have absolutely no shortage of rocks here. And there's areas of the town where this is like a dream. Back in the 1800s, they used to lease this sort of, well, a lot of these areas were actually just leased off the government. It was government-owned land, but you'd go and put up a fence and you know, request a lease, and they'd almost guaranteed pass it. And then they still charge you property taxes, and they get the shits on, because there's areas in my town where they reckon they should have only been charged 1/3 property taxes, because 2/3 were rock, and there was only 1/3 that was, you know, actual grass. And so theoretically, then we've got less grass productivity, and we can't have as many sheep, blah blah. So property taxes should be less because we can't grow as much grass. I've seen ones that are so bad that all you've got, and this is like only a couple of miles from here, all you've got is a gap probably about as big as my thumb between each rock, and grass is basically only growing in between the cracks of rocks, and it's just rock, 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 non-stop, with grass in between the cracks. And you've got all these sheep walking over all these rocks that are friggin' 9 inches tall, just skipping over the top of all these rocks, picking all the stuff in between the cracks there. They can't crop it, they can't do anything except put a hat full of sheep in there. So there's no shortage of rocks, and if I ever run out, I'll just, your neighbour will give you a couple of semi-trailer falls without batting an eyelid. And if you want to know, yes, there is a place that's actually made commercial use of this stuff and goes and crushes the whole lot, because there's a certain patch where it is literally solid rock and it goes quite deep, and so they just make crushed rock, and that's some of what's on my driveway from that particular place. There was also, I'm not going to go into it too extensively, but a particular company put an optic fibre cable ran through the back near this, quite close to this fence actually. I think it's only just literally sitting about 5 metres out from this fence. And in the process, they left us a couple of presents as they were putting in the bloody thing, optic fibre cable. And yeah, it didn't end there, and sort of right near all the floorboards I was crapping on about, there's a couple more. And at the front of the property, there's even more. So some of these are bloody big bastards too. So anyway, once again trying to save a buck and still have a successful outcome. With a bit of luck, these cages only be $50 a hit, a cage, and we'll be able to save some more money and piss off all these bloody rocks. And there goes my pants on the stupid sheep fence. Frickin' barbed wire. From Bugadugga Tribe. No, not really. Just been melting my boots. Yeah. Got a little bit tendencies with all this instead of just letting it cool down. And doing it tomorrow, I decided to do it now, and melted my boots a little bit in the process. Then ended up whacking a bit of corrugated iron down that had cooled down and sort of stand on that, and it sort of dissipates the heat quite a lot. It's so far on the edge, it's not much of a problem. But having said that, that's probably not right, because I got my boot only a few inches off the edge and melted it a bit more. Anyways, yeah, I haven't got all of that. A lot of small shit in it. Work that out another time. There's still got prickles and all that. Don't want to really have to deal with that straight away. but I've got all that business there. That's just a container full of water. And yeah, a lot of chopping, and got in the base there pretty good. And I'll show you the base. This stuff and this stuff is going to end up in there, and that stuff is what I probably going to cut up for myself, because it's not bad. Some of it, some of it's not bad at all. A fair bit of it's still sort of green though, but it actually makes it a lot easier to get the loppers through if it's green. But you know, nothing to say I can't just cut it up and put it aside, because I've already got a little stack, just a small stack that's got green stuff that come out of that garden we cleaned up. So it's stupid to try and burn green stuff when you got all this dry stuff everywhere, to the point that it's just about out of control. But anyway, these are a couple that I cut last year in an attempt to burn it, which didn't really happen, and then I've sort of cut right down through here, couple there, a few here, and yeah, that's the little episode so far. But if I could be really stuffed and I'm still waiting for this call or whatever, then I might actually start cutting into some of this and feeding some of this in. It's got an alright size top, but you can feed a few prickles in, but I might be able to get rid of a bit of it. But at the end of the day, I might just, I don't know, one of these years I've sort of got that one still growing in front of the grapevines, wind protection. One of these years, especially if I go and put shade cloth up or something, I'll burn that thing out, and then it won't be a problem. And this may end up going on top of that. We'll just see. I'll just see. But anyway, I've got enough little bits to burn out. Probably going to get rid of this too. That's dead. That's more of that stuff. There's a whole bunch that's all sitting down here. There's a big line of them there, because there used to be a fence there, and it's on my father's side. And there's a bit of a rock wall underneath it, but it was fenced right from sort of this fence right across quite a distance, actually, at least 100 yards, if not right down to the bottom of the little valley thing. And a lot of those on there are gone dead, and it's the same as this. And there's another one of these that's quite a lot bigger just through there. You can see there's little bits of grey. That's one on that side too. And there's another one that sort of died and fell to bits and got kicked around a bit. So I'll try and feed all that in as well when I get that going at some point. I'm sort of running short on diesel, but I want to get more diesel when I go in to help with all this garden stuff. I don't really see a point of driving a hell of a distance if I can just, you know, driving bloody 8 miles one way to get diesel, just so I can light this stuff a day early, you know. If I'm going to be in there doing that garden, I'll just get the diesel then. But yeah, anyways, that's that. And this probably won't burn quite as well because there's so much of it that's green. But having said that, when you can't get green stuff to burn in a stack on the ground, you will get it to burn inside the steel, because the radiant heat will just dry it out. And it'll sort of go like a lot slowly, and there'll be a lot more steam, but it'll still burn. You know, just you got to wait longer, that's all. And yeah, so that'll be whenever we get to it, probably Monday or something.